I adore Invincible Season 1. It was an incredible contribution to the ever-growing superhero genre. However, Season 2 is one of the worst follow-ups I've seen in a while. The characters that were once brilliant and had plenty of potential are now simply unlikable, irrational, and incredibly inconsistent. I don't care about the comics. If what happened in Season 2 is authentic to the comics, then the comics must suck as well. Mark is haunted by his father's actions, so he doesn't want to engage threats that could potentially level a city. Makes sense. It doesn't make sense then that he would attack a wizard dog without at the very least hearing it out. He beats the piss out of it and says, "So you ready to talk?" Hugging omni-man is a terrible decision to make for his character. This man murdered thousands of people and beat Mark nearly to death. The idea that Mark wouldn't throw a punch is insane. There's a better way to do this scene. Have Mark beat up omni-man and show omni-man just taking it. Then Invincible stops because he sees the look of horror on the bug people's faces. To be clear, I'm not saying Mark would beat Omni-Man. I'm saying Omni-Man would allow Mark to take his rage out on him for multiple reasons. 1. As a way of saying sorry. 2. To assess how capable Mark is due to the incoming threat. Narratively, it also gives Mark a reason to help Nolan, because he cares more about innocent lives than about killing his father. It makes this plot point more believable. Omni-Man gives Mark a pep talk to let go and fight the female Viltrumite without restrictions. Then Mark is able to legitimately beat her. My problem here is that if this is Mark not holding back, why didn't he tap into this when fighting his father? His father grabbed him by the back of the neck and used him as a battering ram against 100s of innocent people. If that's not enough to stop holding back, then I don't know what is. I was under the impression that we had seen Mark's current max abilities, and he needs to train to get stronger. Not that Mark has been holding back this whole time. This, again, breaks his character. Nolan lived his entire life consumed by the Viltrumite philosophy. He believes in it enough to kill thousands of innocents and nearly kill his son. So why then would he write about a way to kill Viltrumites in his books? If he just wrote about a weapon that could kill his own people, why wouldn't he destroy the weapon or send word to the Empire of its existence? Again, Nolan is neck deep in his Empire's goal at this point. I don't know how much time has passed between Season 1 finale and Season 2 Episode 4, but it's not enough time to justify Nolan turning against his people and becoming Emperor of Thraxia. Bugs move fast, Nolan does not. If anything, living with creatures that have a year-long lifespan should prove Viltrum's point. Why not have him dive into the black hole, hoping for death only for it to age him 50 years before spitting him out near Thraxia? That's not how black holes work? Well, Omni-Man is a character who can survive in space. I'm sure the creators can take some liberties with black holes. Adam Eve is stressed. She wants to express her rage by beating on a random supervillain. That's actually fine. It makes sense, and it's not a problem. It is a problem, however, when you take the villain to a public area. She is a superhero who can put the villain in a ball and fly anywhere with him. Why would she possibly think a bridge of all places was the best place to have a fight? At this point, her dad might actually be right. Once again, there's a way to fix this. Keep the fight in the warehouse or whatever that it started in. Have Eve disarm the villain. Then they can fight just with their fists. Eve can repeatedly keep knocking him down and say, "Come on, get up and try again," until the villain is beaten bloody. And Eve needs to learn that she can't be so bullheaded and ignorant to what her abilities can do. Debbie Grayson feels the weight of her husband's atrocious acts of violence and is struggling to stay strong for her son. Going to super therapy and having long, depressing walks makes sense. Having rageful outbursts makes sense. You know what doesn't make sense? Screaming at Cecil and being completely delusional about his character. Cecil in this show is a surprisingly genuine person. To tell him that his money is a manipulation tactic to keep Mark under his control is asinine and insane. Mark went to Cecil and begged him to use him. Mark is a walking weapon of mass destruction. And Cecil said no. He said, "Go grieve and be a kid." If Cecil was as bad as Debbie makes him out to be, that wouldn't have happened. He'd have employed Mark on the spot. Making Debbie scream at him like that hurt her character. Once again, there's a better way to do this. Debbie can just say, "I feel uncomfortable receiving checks because of what my husband did. That money should go to Chicago relief efforts. I want to support myself and stand on my own 2 feet." That's it. You can't have her yell at Cecil like he's a grade A scumbag when the show has not portrayed his character that way. This whole season so far has assassinated all of its core characters. You can tell me I'm wrong and that it's just being faithful to comics, to which I will say that if you're adapting garbage, then the adaptation will be garbage. If you're enjoying this show, great. I'm happy for you. But if something isn't good, then it needs to be addressed in the hopes that it can be better. We shouldn't be grateful that something exists when the quality is poor. It needs to be held to the standard previously set by Season 1.